Meeting of the Baltimore County Landmarks Preservation Commission is now in session. Please note the meeting is being audio recorded. We are your volunteer representatives appointed by our county person, or county executive, and entrusted to monitor renovations and additions to our Baltimore County Historic Resources. We review and approve nominations to the Baltimore County Preliminary Landmarks List and comment on National Register nominations. Additionally, we review exterior alterations and developments impacting county historic districts and county landmarks, and are charged with evaluating submissions to the Baltimore County Historic Tax Credit Program. Would the commissioners please introduce themselves by name and county council district for representation? We can go in the order listed on the PowerPoint screen.
Good evening, everyone. Rob Brennan, District 1.
Phoebe Evans Latosha, executive appointment.
John Holman, Council-Matic, District 5.
Scott's not here. Ed?
Ed Horde, executive appointment.
Vince? Vince, I think you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
There you go.
I was having a hard time with me. Vince Johnson, executive appointment.
Mitch Kelman, executive appointment.
Wendy is not here. Steve?
Steve Meyer, executive appointment.
Kate Paul, executive appointment.
Marina Novaes, executive appointment.
Scott, 7th District.
Katuba is not here, so Chris?
Chris Weston, District 2.
Perfect. That's everybody.
Thank you all. Now please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
The Landmarks Preservation Commission operates under the authority, standards, and requirements of Title VII, Article 32 of the Baltimore County Code. We refer to the United States Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation as administered by the National Park Service. This is the accepted national standard for historic preservation projects. Our own Baltimore County Historic Preservation Design Guidelines directly reference and incorporate the Secretary of the Interior's Standards for Rehabilitation. We have important preservation issues to discuss and debate at each meeting. If you would like to make comments, please limit your comments to the specific preservation submission being reviewed. We ask for your assistance and understanding so that the discussions do not digress. As an additional comment, we can all agree that historic preservation is an important aspect of the quality of life and place that makes Baltimore County unique. As a commission, we seek to recommend significant buildings and places for landmark consideration to the County Council for their final vote. As commissioners, we serve on the commission due to our expertise, interest, and passion for historic buildings and places, and review submissions based solely on their merit. While we may disagree in discussion and voting, we continue to be a collegial body that respects each other personally and professionally. I think our next order of business is if the staff could convey our policy with ongoing virtual meetings.
Yes, so just as a reminder, if anybody attending the meeting would like to offer comments, there are a couple different ways you can do so. You can use the chat feature to send a message to the host, or you can also use your hand raised button to signify that you would like to speak on a project. Additionally, staff would like to make a note that the commission receives all materials that are sent to staff. The information presented in this PowerPoint is purely a visual overview and summary to keep the meeting moving along, but the commissioners did receive everything you sent us.
Thank you. Tara, can you inform the members of the commission if there are any changes to the preliminary agenda?
No changes.
Great, thank you. Assuming that all commission members have read the minutes from last month's meeting, are there any changes to the minutes? If there's no changes, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Great. You want to do a roll call, or would you like to do it all in favor?
We can do an all in favor for this one.
I missed what you said.
I'm sorry, we can do an all at once for this one.
Okay, okay. So all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Looks like the motion passes. Thank you. There are two consent agenda items, item 5 and number 7. Taylor, if you could read the comments for both of those.
Sure. So the first consent agenda item is agenda item number 5. It's the M&P Railroad Bridge abutments, the GGCAL Towson Row LLC property, and that's located at the northwest corner of York Road and Towsontown Boulevard in Towson. It's final landmark number 305, MIP number BA1542. And the proposal is the repointing of the abutment with a type N Portland and lime mortar blend. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, facade materials, page 5 and 10, and National Park Service Technical Preservation Services, Preservation Brief number 2, repointing mortar joints in historic masonry buildings, and County Code Section 327-403. The next consent agenda item is agenda item number 7, the Thompson property at 4708 Butler Road in Glendon. This is a contributing structure in the Glendon County Historic District, MIP number BA708. The proposal is the installation of a 3-board split rail fence to enclose the rear yard. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscape, page 4, and County Code Section 327-403.
Thank you. Is there anybody present that would like to speak against the approval of the consent item agenda?
This is Chris Weston. I would like to break the bridge off for further discussion if we can.
On which item?
The bridge abutment, the repointing of the bridge abutment.
Okay. Do you want that to go into a discussion item, or do you just want to discuss it right now?
That's up to you. I'm ready to discuss it right now.
We'll discuss it as scheduled. We'll pull it from the consent agenda, and then we'll vote on the remaining consent agenda items, so just number 7, and then we'll get to that one when we get to 5 in the agenda.
Okay. So, are we going to just pull that out and just talk about, or just approve 5 if there's no opposition to 5?
Yep. So we'll remove agenda item number 5 from the consent agenda. So we just need a motion for the remaining consent agenda items as proposed.
Okay.
So
And is there any, excuse me, is there a motion to approve consent agenda item 7?
Yes, I make that motion.
Okay,
I'll
so a
second
second.
the motion. I'll second.
All in favor of approving consent agenda item 7, say aye. I'm still not on my words tonight.
Aye.
Any nays?
Perfect.
No nays. It looks like the motion for 7 carries.
Perfect. Moving on, agenda item number 4. This is the Sparks School Site and Ruins and Setting at 1000 Sparks Road, tax map number 34, parcel number 67, tax account ID 0802058250 in Sparks. This is MIP number BA2229, and this is a public hearing on the nomination of the site to the preliminary landmarks list. This is a public hearing to add the Sparks Site and Ruins and Setting. The setting is 1.26 acres of the 3.93 acre parcel to the preliminary landmarks list. This nomination was submitted by a third party, and the site is presently owned by Baltimore County. Baltimore County also owns the approximately 36 acres surrounding the parcel, and Real Estate Compliance is aware of this nomination and the hearing. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin to deliver a presentation. So if I could ask everyone to mute your mic while she does that, just so that we don't have any feedback. And the floor is hers.
Thank you, Taylor. All right. So the Sparks School ruins, or the school that was once on this site, was originally constructed in 1909 and was designed by Thomas Jones and Sons Architects, with later additions by the Baltimore firm of Smith and May. It was originally built as an agricultural high school for the northern Baltimore County area. Sparks was one of the very first agricultural schools in Maryland and one of the first in Baltimore County. It became a pilot school in its course offerings of forestry and farming for boys and domestic sciences for girls, instead of academic classes offered at other high schools in Baltimore County. The Sparks Agricultural School was part of a national trend in the early 20th century to establish farming schools in rural areas. The U.S. Department of Agriculture provided guidance and support to local governments looking to establish these types of schools. To just give a general idea of the location for those who aren't familiar, the Sparks School site in ruins is located on the northwest side of Sparks Road, east of the intersection at York Road. It is accessed by a semicircular asphalt road off of Sparks Road that passes in front of the ruins. The parcel is owned by Baltimore County and is just under 4 acres. It is surrounded by an additional 36 acres, which is also owned by Baltimore County. The school ruins are situated towards the southeast of the parcel, roughly 50 to 55 feet off of Sparks Road. The semicircular entrance road travels beyond the ruins on its southwest side along a flat grassy area and goes to the back of the property before opening up to provide access to recreation fields and adjacent parcels. The ruins and site are bordered by forested areas to the west and east. The foundation and original footprint of the former school is visible in some areas of the flat grassy area, which is directly behind the ruins. So it's just a timeline of the school from its construction until it was destroyed by a fire. Again, it was originally constructed, it was completed in November of 1909. There is an addition in 1927 to the rear of the structure. And in 1936 was when there was major changes to the school, where there was a new facade and some classroom additions to the front, and then additional additions to the rear. The 1936 alterations is what is left from the school. The front portion of the school is from 1936 era, and the 1927 and 1936 additions were designed by the firm of Smith and May. In 1952, Sparks becomes an elementary school. Before it had high school and has had an elementary department, but now in 1952 it's solely elementary school, and this is because Hereford High School was completed and opened. And then in 1995, on January 8th, there was a fire, electrical fire that consumed majority of the school, and today there is just that 1936 front addition that we see. So the ruins of the 1936 addition is roughly 2 stories in height. It was constructed into the grade of the site, where the front appears to be as 1 or 1.5 stories, but the rear has a full story with a basement, which in some of the building plans that I found, they call that as the first, they refer to that as the first story. It was constructed of brick stone, and there's some steel I-beams. The exterior is random forced cut local stone and granite. It currently has no roof. The facade, the front facade has 3 evenly spaced stone arches that are enclosed on either side, creating sort of an arcade or a porch. The arches have alternating sized voussoir blocks of granite and local stone. The central arch is flanked on both sides with a bronze copper Art Deco style flagpole holder with its wooden flagpoles, which are still held in place by suspension wires. Along the top of the structure, you can see a shadow or ghost that can be seen where the old 1909 Sparks School 1936 sign once hung. The southwest and northeast or side elevations are very similar. They both have large rectangular window openings divided in the middle by 2 vertical steel I-beams on the second story. And on the 2 smaller rectangular windows or openings are underneath on the first story or basement story. The windows have vertical granite block lintels and sills. Along the top, there is a simple cornice belt that runs along the entire width of the elevation. The rear or northwest elevation actually was once the front elevation of the original 1909 agricultural school. You can see the original irregular coarse dark gray cut granite blocks at the rear corners, the north and east corners of the structure. This wall is about 2 feet wider than the 1936 addition that it's connected to. This elevation is 2 stories and has 5 symmetrical bays. The wall was constructed of uncut and uncoarse granite. Horizontal wood framing pieces actually are evenly spaced along the wall, and in some places you can see where they are charred from the fire. This side of the wall was meant to have been sheathed with interior wall coverings. In the center there is a 2-story brick arch, and this was part of the original entrance to the school in the 1909 entrance. On the second story, there are 4 evenly spaced rectangular window openings that have been filled in, 2 on either side of the center arch. These openings match those on older photos of the 1909 structure. On the first story, there's a door opening on the left or north side, which originally was a larger window, and the same former window opening is present on the right or west side that was fully filled in with stone. Only evidence that you can see is from a brick window header. The ground in front of this elevation is concrete and brick and shows some of the original building's footprint. So publicly funded schools in Baltimore County began around the time of the Civil War. There was an act that was passed that allowed the county commissioners at the time to appoint a board of school commissioners, whose responsibilities included developing a plan to create public schools in the county. The board of school commissioners were in charge of establishing schools, employing teachers, and creating a tax on property values, which at the time was 4 cents per $100 of property value, which that tax would have been used to pay for the schools, salaries and books. The existing schools were taken over and new ones were built. In 10 years, there were about 99 schools in all over Baltimore County. Many of them were of log construction. The northern part of Baltimore County consisted of many one-room village schoolhouses and with no real high school. And the discussion of an agricultural school in Sparks was brought up at a board of school commissioners meeting in 1907. It was mentioned in the Baltimore Sun on February 14th, 1907. At this time, there were 4 one-room schoolhouses in Sparks, Glencoe area. There's one in Glencoe, Philopolis, which is near Lupton, Verona, and Belfast. A delegation appeared before the Board of School Commissioners to appeal for a consolidated school on York Road, about 3/4 of a mile from Sparks Station. The Board of School Commissioners was in favor of a consolidation. It was suggested that the site would be an ideal location for an agricultural school. In the early 20th century, the U.S. government was interested in establishing agricultural type schools in rural areas, and it was mentioned that an ag school in Cecil County had been successful, and then there were many similar schools in the western states. The location at Sparks was ideal because it was in the center of the farming district of the county and was in close proximity to the railroad, which was a requirement by the federal government. The contracts for construction were awarded to architects Thomas L. Jones and Sons in May of 1909. The contractor for the project was Walter E. Burnham, and the mason for the school was R.C. Boone. And the local community contributed about $500, mainly for the extensive grading of the grounds that was needed. The entire project was reported to cost around $20,000, and that was reported in the Baltimore Sun in November 7th, 1909 article. The school was dedicated on November 6, 1909. Some of those who addressed the crowd were President H. Sylvester and Professor Thomas F. Hunt, the president and dean of the Maryland Agricultural College, which is present-day University of Maryland, and Mr. William M. Hayes, which was the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The school opened its doors on November 8, 1909, and again, it was one of the first of its kind in Baltimore County. It had 130 students its first year, with 43 in the high school department. Boys were taught agricultural, and the girls domestic sciences. Mr. B.H. Cochran was the first principal, with Miss Rose A. Troy as the vice principal. The school building was constructed of granite with a slate hipped roof. It was 5 by 6 bays and measured around 66 by 95 feet. The building had its own steam heat system, a gravity water system, modern sanitary facilities, and it had its own gas plants. The basement contained laboratories and classrooms for teaching agriculture, domestic sciences, and manual training. The labs were equipped to teach agricultural botany and physics, and the domestic science lab was equipped with modern cooking facilities at the time. The manual training rooms, workrooms, were fitted with workbenches and tools. The school was very successful in its first years. By 1927, additional instructional space was needed to accommodate an increase in attendance. An addition designed by the Baltimore firm Smith & May was added to the rear of the 1909 structure. The addition matched the rest of the structure in materials and massing. Again, there were major changes to the appearance of the Sparks School in 1936. Additions to the rear and front of the building were added. Architect Smith and May were contracted again to complete these additions. A new front entrance was built with a 3-arch porch measuring about 61 by 39 feet, and added some Art Deco elements as the in the flagpole holders. And it stated that its flag poles were made out of spruce. Smith and May were known for their Art Deco style buildings. The front facade also matched or was very similar to other schools that were constructed in the northern part of the county in the 1930s, Pretty Boy Elementary and 5th District. Additional classrooms and teacher rooms were added to the rear of the structure. The rear addition added 43 feet of length to the school. So the architects, a firm of Smith and May, which is named for its founding partners of Wilson L. Smith and Howard May. Smith and May formed in 1913. Together, the firm was responsible for the North Avenue Market, the nurses' home at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, the School of Law at the University of Maryland, the Bank of America building, or formerly known as the Baltimore Trust building, the Heck and May Company building, which is on Howard Street. And on his own, Wilson Smith actually designed the Wycliffe Castle, which is now on the Maryville Prep School campus. So Sparks School became Sparks Elementary School in 1954 after, or 52 after Hereford High School opened. Few exterior changes happened to the school since 1936. There were occasional systems updates and interior renovations, but the exterior remained as it was in 1936. In the early 1990s, mobile classrooms were added to the site due to increased school population. In 1993, a third of the school population moved to the newly constructed Jacksonville Elementary School. And sadly, on January 8th, 1995, a fire broke out in the ceiling of the school, and a majority of it was destroyed. The site was cleared, but the shell of the 1936 Smith and May facade and addition remained, becoming a prominent and recognizable feature on Sparks Road. Today, it serves as a reminder of the former elementary school in the beginnings, and its beginnings as it's the first agricultural school in the county. So just for a setting explanation, the proposed setting is 1.26 acres of the 3.93 acre parcel, which is down in the southwest by Sparks Road, right away to the southwest, the edge of the parking lot, to the northwest by a fence and retaining wall, and by the northeast with the edge of the parking lot drive. With the setting, we wanted to include the footprint of the former school, as well as to include a small buffer beyond that, in an effort to keep the area as open space in the event any future improvements or work will happen to the site. The applicable criteria, while the Baltimore County Final Landmarks list includes very few ruins, the Sparks School ruins maintain enough integrity of materials and workmanship, and is an example of a Smith and May building worthy of designation. Because of this, the Sparks School site and ruins are nominated under criteria 2 as a distinctive example of a particular architectural style or period or method of construction. Criteria 3 as an example of a work by a noted architect, and criteria 5 for the ability to likely yield information or materials important in history. Meeting criteria 2, the ruins have some Art Deco details. The masonry work and construction style of the arches provides an example of a school building, which is also seen in other parts of Baltimore County, such as Pretty Boy Elementary and 5th District. In addition, it meets criteria 3 as an example of the work by the firm Smith and May. And criteria 5, the ruins are located on the site of the first agricultural school of Baltimore County, which likely can yield information, more information about the school. And now, Taylor, I don't know if you had any pre-submitted testimony or not from the public.
No, we did not.
That's what I was going to ask, if there's anybody here in favor or against placing the setting of the Sparks Ruin on the preliminary landmarks list?
Yes, so we do have Trish Benz, who was the nominator of the site. She is on as an attendee, so we'll have Caitlin go ahead and unmute her. And Caitlin, while you're at it, can you also make Scott a panelist?
Oh, yeah.
He is on as an attendee right now.
All right. Trish, I'm gonna unmute you. You're unmuted.
Thank you. Well, thanks for letting me be here, and I also wanted to thank Caitlin and Taylor for the work they did on behalf of this site, because it's been a long time. I think it's almost 2 years since I submitted the nomination, but there were some loose ends with the title issues, but they persevered, and I appreciate that. The history of Sparks School runs very, very deep through the community, and it's evidenced by names like Pierce and Enzer, Windsor, Chilcote, Matthews, McGinnis. All these names are still around today. Also, they were also known for athletics. You talk about the agricultural, and I think these farmers really raised some strong kids, because 1915 they were the Baltimore County basketball champs for the males. The girls were the champions in 1934. They're still athletic champions today. They have very strong track and field and wrestling, basketball and soccer, and they played all these sports. They even played lacrosse back then, which in 1932, and I didn't know they did that, but they did. Another thing I want to say is, back then, there were no snow days unless it was a real bad blizzard. An example of that is in an article written by Miss Eva Akehurst, published in the Sun in 1962. And she said this is how they got to school, was when it was a snow day, on a sled. The sled itself, I'm quoting her, the sled itself was as big as a wagon bed. Perhaps it was just that. It was filled with fresh straw, and Mr. Enzer always had a pile of blankets for those who couldn't keep warm enough in the straw. Usually he kept a lighted lantern on the floorboard well away from the straw to keep his feet. And then she goes on to say, by the first spell at school, there usually were 2 or 3 boys who had succeeded getting their felt boots soaking wet. They were sent down to the furnace room that Caitlin had mentioned, the furnace being downstairs. They went sent down to the furnace room to sit around in their stocking feet while their boots dried on top of the furnace. Sometimes there would be frostbitten fingers, and the teachers or older pupils went to work on them with cold water or a handful of snow, rubbing briskly and stinging circulation return. So that it was a different time back then, and it is a different time that we should honor. I have one more connection, is that my daughter graduated, was the last graduating class from that school in 1995, 1996. She was a student there when it burned down. Sad day for the community. Many people were standing around crying. It was just unbelievable, but they were thankful that the children were not in the school at the time that they had that fire. But right now, I know you can't see it, and I'm sorry that you can't, but I'm looking at the graduating class of 1996. They finished their year up at the Cockeysville Elementary School. But I see my daughter standing there like a little badass girl, and I see this sweet little boy in the middle, couldn't be any cuter with this very, very long t-shirt on. And the two of them, I'll get teary. They grew up, got married, and I am now expecting my 4th grandchild from them. So it means a lot. The school means a lot to me, means a lot to the community. And I hope, sorry, I do apologize because I'm not being very professional, but because I get teary. But I do hope that the commissioners will vote to put this ruin on, as beautiful as it still is with the arches, on the preliminary landmark list for the criterion that was mentioned 2, 3, and 5. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that piece of history. I don't think, is there anybody else who wants to speak besides the commission members?
If there is anyone else from the public that would like to speak, if you could hit the little raise the hand icon that should be next to your name. If not, we can move on. I don't see anyone.
Okay, before we discuss amongst commission members, I don't know, did we formally make a recommendation citing the section from the county code? Or did I skip over that by asking if someone wanted to speak?
The recommendation was what Caitlin said of criteria 2, 3, and 5. So it's staff's recommendation is to vote to place the Sparks School site in ruins and setting on the preliminary landmarks list under criteria 2, 3, and 5, and to delineate the proposed 1.26 acres directly surrounding the ruins as its historic environmental setting, and that's citing County Code Section 327302.
Yeah, I forgot to edit this on this screen. This should also have criteria 5 for the one under there. I just realized it got left out.
I thought I jumped too early. So is there discussion? Is there discussion between the commission members? Anybody like to make comments?
Yeah, I would like to know if this is Rob Brennan. I would like to know if the county has taken a position on this officially. I know when we were looking at the barn in Towson, they had some representatives attend.
Rob, I had brought that up because there was, I think, question of whether this was owned by just Baltimore County or it was owned by the public schools, and I believe it is just Baltimore County, not public school system.
It is. So it's only owned by Baltimore County. That was the deed delay that Trish mentioned in her testimony. There was some issues that it was in Baltimore County Public Schools' names, but Baltimore County was in the process of purchasing it. So it is owned by the county. Real Estate Compliance, who we deal with for county-owned properties, is aware of the nomination. They were aware of this public hearing. It does not appear anyone is online from there, and we have not received any positive or negative feedback from them regarding the nomination or the inclusion on the preliminary landmarks list.
This is John. I had a question about the integrity of it structurally. Is it safe? And also, is it an attractive hazard right now to kids try and break in that fence to go in the basement?
As I know, there has not been any structural survey done on the building, which if the county does move forward with stuff, I would suggest that. I do know that people have gone in beyond the fence because of YouTube. You can go and search these like urban or like ruin chasers that go and like take videos. So there is some graffiti on some of the interior walls. But I mean, it looks, just from looking at it, being on site, it is very solid. It doesn't look like it's going to be, falling down anytime soon. But I mean, you do have kids that go in there. and that's a security issue and something, you know, that would have to be dealt with eventually.
Thank you.
I do wanted to say, this is Marina. I want to congratulate staff because I think this is a wonderful research work that you guys done with all this information and historic pictures. And I know that is very difficult to find. So I think it's very well done research that you guys did. And also wanted to say that this is an example of preservation work that that we don't see every day, because it really shows that it's never too late to preserve a historic structure. So congratulations.
Thank you. I actually just got from Baltimore County Public Schools Facilities Department. I had asked them a while ago to get if they could look in their archives for building plans for the school, and they got them to me yesterday. So some of the information, I didn't know that Smith and May were the architects until yesterday. So I was happy to have those, and that they didn't have digital copies. So
Lucky you.
yeah, they had to get them, they scanned them all for me. So I was really excited. And they said they had some more stuff too, which they had to go to a different building to go look in. So there's probably some more information out there.
Very good. Very nice.
In a footnote to the historic significance of the building, I've been reading some of our former members, Louis Diggs' books about African American communities in North Baltimore County. And it is mentioned in the reminiscences of many African American members in North County, how they were excluded from this school, of course, into the 1950s. So there is some significance in a negative way, I guess, but it has an additional value from that, I think.
Thank you. Further discussion?
I was wondering if there are any known plans for the ruins or the site?
Of just the building that's currently standing there?
Well, yeah, the building, I would think was mentioned that it could be incorporated into another structure at some point. I think in your description, I guess it's been replaced as a school. So is it more of a park now than a?
So yeah, so the site has like soccer fields and recreational fields in the rear. I don't think it's being heavily utilized. I think more people that live in the area will probably go walk their dogs, but the site's not, the structure, the ruins themselves aren't being used. They're just sitting there. So there's an opportunity to maybe do something in the future with redeveloping of the park or stabilizing the structure as a ruins or something like, but no plans of any future or site work. I only have site plans from like the 80s, back when it was a school, of the site, and when they did improvements to like the ball fields or adding a parking lot or something like that. So nothing since the fire.
So we would hope it doesn't go another 10 years with a chain link fence around it? Is that something we need to address, or?
I would hope not, since when it becomes a landmark, I don't know, we could do, I don't know if anything from like code violation to help, or if the landmark status will maybe help the county, push the county into doing something with it. So
one thing to note though is that this is a nomination for the ruins. So that's when you can't ask the county to make it better. It can only be maintained at the level that it is now. When it's added to the preliminary landmarks list, if that's the route you guys go, you can't request that the county do work. They only have to maintain what's existing.
And I think it would be better if they maintained it as ruins. There's a lot of case studies out there where people have maintained structures as ruins and made them safe for people to go into. I actually think it would be cool to make it into like I keep telling Taylor this, like to stabilize the ruins and then sort of make it into like an outdoor theater, because you have the found like the concrete right in front of it, and have that as a backdrop because you have that flat grassy area in front. But that's just, me pondering ideas.
Taylor and Rob, your commentary poses an interesting question. Can the county fine the county for neglect?
That would be a question for our code enforcement inspector, I believe.
Or probably the law office.
Yeah, or our law office. Honestly, I'm not sure the process on that, if I'm being totally candid.
Right now, we're before us is a motion, to put this on the landmark list. I mean, what happens afterwards, we could talk about, but I don't know that we have any say on it or any ability to do much on it as the Landmark Preservation Commission.
I agree with that. And I think we should just put the motion in play, and I'm happy to make the motion that we put it on the list, and then let's see how it develops. I think it's worthy of salvation and worthy as a landmark.
You want to make the motion?
I'm trying to, in my own fumbling way. I make the motion. How's that? Do I have to do something?
Is there any further discussion from any of the commissioners?
I just had a quick question. Is the vote is on to maintain it as ruins?
Yes, so the motion before us right now is to place the Sparks Elementary School ruins and setting on the preliminary landmarks list under criteria 2, 3, and 5, and to delineate that 1.26 acre box as the setting. So it's just to add the site to the preliminary landmarks list. No, not talking about any development, future uses, nothing like that. Just should it be on the preliminary landmarks list.
And someone, and I asked the question because someone brought up a question about is it I think the word was stable. Is it the stability of it? Maintain as ruins. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I interrupted you.
To maintain as ruins, it seems like to me the question of is it stable enough to be maintained that way without, because we're not voting on any additional work, we just.
Sure.
Well, we are the Landmark Preservation Commission, and our job is to put it onto either put it on or not put it on to the landmarks list. What happens afterwards is up to other people. And, at some point we could recommend something, but I think getting it on the landmark list will protect it and give it opportunities to be retained and stabilized. We don't know whether it's stabilized at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so there hasn't
Thanks,
been
Ed.
there hasn't been like a structural analysis of anything or anything like that. But Caitlin and I were out to the site in January when we posted the sign, and it does look sound. That's not to say that it is, but it does appear to be sound.
I suggest we go forward.
I just had a comment here. So if it's placed on the landmarks listing, then does that prompt more opportunity to review the stability and study the site? Then it would have more opportunity, more protection than it would if it wasn't put on the landmarks listing.
Yeah, so if and when the county wants to do improvements to that site, they would have to come to the project. If it involves the ruins, or the site would have to or anything within that setting we're delineating would have to come to the LPC. So that way you guys can advise them on what routes to take or how to go about a structural analysis, or you would give them, feedback on that.
And if the county at one point decided it wanted to sell the property, what protection then does and what
Same
purview
thing.
would the landmarks provision have there?
If it's on the
Yeah.
landmark
So-
list, whoever buys it assumes the responsibilities for a landmark structure. Just like, somebody buys a house that's been on the landmark list, they now have to follow the rules of the landmark list, anything they want to do to that house.
Thank you.
I think where we were is John was in the middle of making a formal motion.
I think he made it.
You make it?
I'll second it.
For a second?
I second it.
Taylor, you want to do a roll call?
Yes. Okay, 1 second, sorry. So we had the motion from John. The second from Ed. Okay, now we'll go through and do a roll call vote. If you could just unmute yourself if you're muted, and just say if you are or are not in support. Chris,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Faith,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Marina,
Yes.
Mitch,
Yes?
Phoebe,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Vince.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously. The site is now on the preliminary landmarks list.
Congratulations.
Should we go back to, is it 5? Item 5?
Yeah.
5 is next.
Yes, so agenda item number 5, this is the M&P Railroad Bridge abutments, the GGCAL Towson Row LLC property at the northwest corner of York Road and Towson Boulevard. It's final landmark number 305, MIP number BA1542, and the proposal is the repointing of the abutment with a type N Portland and lime mortar blend. The applicants are seeking approval for work to the abutment in order to stabilize the stone masonry. The abutments are on the same parcel as the Towson Road development site at the northwest corner of York Road and Towson Town Boulevard. The work proposed includes the removal of trees and growth, the rinsing of the stones, the removal of existing mortar, and the application of new mortar. Based on the findings from Coastal Exteriors LLC, it is believed that the existing mortar is a blend of Portland cement and sand, and the strength of the existing mortar is probably comparable to that of a modern-day Type S or stronger. Presently, there is a need to remove trees and vegetative growth from the joints and crevices of the stone structure. The work proposed includes cutting and removing trees and treating roots and vegetation to ensure that recurrence is limited. While the commission does not have purview over landscaping because the growth is into the joints of the structure, staff felt it was best that this component was included for the record. Regarding the rinsing, the proposal calls for using low to medium pressure to remove dirt from the stones before the repointing process begins. However, this falls outside the commission's purview and may be completed regardless of review. The next component of the proposal includes the removal of 100% of the abutment's existing mortar by cutting, chipping, and raking the mortar joints. Per the historic review application, where feasible, a manual hammer and chisel will be utilized. In cases where the mortar is hard or removal is more stubborn, the mortar will be removed with the assistance of lightweight electric or pneumatic chipping hammers. The open joints will be flushed with water to remove the dust and debris before new mortar is applied. The applicants are proposing a type N Portland and lime blend mortar. The mortar type is slightly softer than what presently exists. However, it is a medium strength mix that is not overly hard and will allow durability for the abutments in terms of weather and vibration pressures imposed from York Road traffic and work on the Towson Road development. The new mortar will be applied in lifts not exceeding 1/4 of an inch in depth. As a note, a Google Street View of the site from August 2019 is included in the meeting materials, and the vegetative growth is evident. In late December 2019, staff consulted with building inspections and a Baltimore County structural engineer to acquire if the abutment was in stable condition and not at risk for collapsing. The abutment was found to be stable and code enforcement was not involved. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, facade materials, pages 5 and 10, and the National Park Service Technical Preservation Services Preservation Brief Number 2, repointing mortar joints in historic masonry buildings, in County Code Section 327-403.
Thank you, Taylor. Since this is a discussion item now, we're going to ask if there's the applicant or the applicant's rep available to explain the request.
Yes. Caitlin, we have two people, it looks like online, Chris Mudd and Gustavo Arango. I apologize if I said that incorrectly.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me? This is Gustavo.
Yes.
Hi, Gustavo. We can hear you.
Good. So my consultant, Ted Wolf, we should be connected, but he's telling me he's not sure why he's not in, so I will pinch it for him.
Sorry, Gustavo, I don't mean to interrupt you. Ted is also online. He's just muted right now. Would you rather we unmute him?
Yeah, unmute him as well. I mean, I guess between the two of us, we can respond to questions, but but generally, if you want, I'll start and I'll maybe pass it off to him to get some more technical. But you described it in detail. I'm not sure how much I could else provide, but basically, you can see the picture at the bottom left, which is August 2019. That's what the abutment looks in the summertime when the weeds grow. We took these pictures in the winter after it had we had regraded around it, and as you can tell, the areas that were have a lot of mud, and those areas have eroded some of the mortar. And like you explained, our intent is to repair the abutment to get it as close as possible as what it was back then, and remove some of the weeds that have grown on it carefully. And I think that is the non-technical way to describe this, but if you have more technical questions, I'm sure Ted can discuss further.
Thank you, Gustavo.
This is Chris Weston. I only wanted to point out one item on proposal item 4D, which is on page 5 of the PDF. It says we are proposing that the profile of the new joints will be flush or slightly recessed. And then if we look at application page 19, which is the close-up of the abutment with the placard, you will see a detail on the joint that is, the technical name for this is called a ribbon joint. Taylor, is it possible to go to PDF page 19?
Yes, Caitlin is presenting.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, no worries. We'll have her pull that up.
Do you have it up, Taylor?
No, I don't. I can though.
Oh, because I can change it so that you can share it, because I don't have it open.
Okay, go ahead. I am. Okay,
I'll stop.
launch this.
I'll stop sharing so you can share.
Can you make me the presenter? You just got the WebEx ball that's on your name to my name.
There we go. Yeah, okay. First time I had to do this, so I'm just
all good.
Get it out.
All good.
So now you should be good.
Okay. Oh shoot, and we're not signed in. My apologies. 1 second. Okay. Chris, which page was it that you wanted?
19, please.
19.
Yes, that one. You see how there are there's a larger joint, which is the filled joint, and then the thin white joint, that's called a ribbon joint. And the proposal doesn't mention the application of the ribbon joint in the repointing work, and that's important to the appearance of the abutment. If you look to the left of the placard where the ribbon joint exists, has a much better finished appearance than the repointing work to the right where it doesn't exist. So we want to make sure that the ribbon joint gets replaced. And so all I'm recommending is that the application be approved with the provision that the ribbon joints occur.
And they should match what is existing.
Correct, yes. And
The ribbon
it's
joints that
interesting,
are
they
existing.
didn't go the whole way around. Obviously, you wouldn't have done that below grade, so.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but this is Gustavo Arango again. I believe, and I don't know if Ted is able to speak, or maybe we can let him, you guys can unmute him after me, but I believe that we discussed this issue because we looked at the abutment on the other side of the street, and which is, existing. And we thought that it was less prevalent, the ribbon, I think the one you're describing, than the other one. I mean, obviously not below grade, just above grade. It just currently, obviously, since this was open in 1900 and it stopped being used in, I think, in the 50s, the repair that I guess the county had done, it's been different. So we couldn't tell which one, and again, I'm speaking, I'll let Ted speak, but I thought that he thought that the original one, which is what we're trying to restore this to, was the non-ribbon one. But if he can speak, if you can let him speak, Taylor, maybe he can expand on this.
He's unmuted.
Taylor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So, yeah, I would say about half of the abutment has the ribbon and the other half is more of a flush joint. My sense of it is that the ribbon joint came after the original construction. My sense is the ribbon was kind of a fad in the 20s and 30s. And I'm not sure that it's original.
Are there any historic photos that can be consulted on that question?
I have not seen any. The flush joint.
I think it should be.
Go ahead.
I think it should be the ribbon joint. I think that looks better, and it was used in the early 1900s, so I think it could well be what was there.
Okay.
Ted, do you know what the other abutment on the other side of the street looks like? I assume we want to make them look the same or similar.
I think it's a kind of a similar state. It had
like 50 on both.
Yeah, it's got a variety of things going on.
This is the one we're fixing up, and I think it ought to be done in a proper way. And I think the ribbon joint, Chris makes a very good point. I think the ribbon joint should be used.
Ted, is that? I'm sure that's no different methodology to do this.
Well, it is a different methodology. It's doable. I'm not that worried about that. I was just looking at it from
the historic perspective.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. If that's what the committee wants, then we don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I think there was somebody else. I think it was Chris Mudd that also wanted to speak as well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we hear you.
I'm taking a back seat to these guys. We're good. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chris. Okay,
So I'll motion to approve the application with the provision that the ribbon joint be added where it exists now.
I would say it ought to be done where they're doing repointing, so we don't have part and part. Just, don't you think?
Yeah, I look at the backside or the below grade side, and I'm not sure that it ever existed there, but I don't see a problem. I mean, it's sort of we're making it a sculpture at this point, right?
Well, I don't think we ought to do, there are places that have been patched that don't have it. I think that we just ought to do it. And then
the
it's
whole
a
thing?
consistent look.
Okay.
If we're going to do it, let's do it and do it right. So it looks reasonable, not have bits here and bits there. I think we just redo it with the ribbon joint, any place that is exposed.
I would agree. The fact that it's been uncovered it's a result of the new construction and should be treated as though it was always uncovered, I think.
Yep.
And the applicant is okay with that?
Yeah, so Chris, do you accept that amendment that the ribbon is for the whole abutment, not just in kind?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. And then we just need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. And now we will go ahead and do a roll call vote. Here we go. Chris,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Faith. Faith, you're muted.
Sorry. Yes.
John,
Yes.
Marina,
Yes.
Mitch,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Vince.
Yes.
Perfect. Passes.
I'd also like to comment on the unfortunate placement of the historic plaque. That was glued to the side of the stone, but be great if it was mounted in a more sensitive manner. Thank you.
All righty. All righty. Agenda item number 6 is the Renaud property at 305 Morris Avenue in Lutherville. This is a contributing structure in the Lutherville County Historic District, MIP number BA320. The proposal is part 2 approval for the in-kind repair and replacement to the front porch floor and ceiling, the installation of new front porch stairs to match a 1910 historical photo, the in-kind repair and reinstallation of a missing historic porch handrail to match the 1910 historical photo, and the repainting of exterior siding, trim, windows, and shutters. The property owner is seeking approval for 4 work items in conjunction with a tax credit application. 3 of the 4 work items are to repair and restore the front porch. The Historic American Buildings Survey inventory form for the home describes the porch as, at the first floor level, a handsome front porch gives the house much of its architectural character. A pediment, it's shingles fronting one of the elongated windows which flank the side lighted and transom doorway, is balanced somewhat by the projecting bay window. The pediment, which is with its molded rakes and the porch roof, are carried on 4 heavy turned columns with corner brackets supporting pierced friezeboard. The balustrade is shingled. Work item 1 involves work to the porch floor and ceiling. The flooring, deck skirting, posts, and ceiling are all wood and are rotted in multiple places. The homeowner is proposing to repair and replace as necessary. The porch joists will be repaired or replaced with southern yellow pine as needed. The flooring will be replaced with 1-inch thickness by 2 1/8 face milled T&G staple wood to match the existing design and dimension, and the ceiling will be replaced with 5/8 thickness by 3-inch T&G southern yellow pine to match the existing. All existing and new wooden features will then be prepped for paint and repainted to match the existing color scheme of the home and porch. Because this work is in-kind replacements and will not alter the design of the porch, staff recommends approval as proposed. Work item 2 involves work to the front porch stair risers, which were built in 1993. The stairs are a non-standard height and the wooden risers and treads are rotted. The homeowner is proposing to install new front porch stair stringers constructed with southern yellow pine. 1 step will be removed to match the rise over run of the steps based on the 1910 historical photo provided by the property owner. Along with the work to the stairs, the non-original handrail is proposed to be removed, again, to best match the historic photo. All of the existing wood will then be prepped and all of the new and existing wood will then be prepped and repainted to match the home and porch. Overall, staff is in support of this proposal. While the historic 1910 photo is slightly cut off at the bottom, the plans match the photo very closely and to the extent possible given the records available. The new stairs will better match the 1910 historic photo of the dwelling and will restore the porch to its former character. Work item 3 involves work to the front porch railing, which presently does not exist. The railing was removed in approximately 2010 due to rotted top rails and balustrades. The homeowner is proposing to repair the handrails by replacing the top rail with Spanish cedar milled to match the existing, caulk holes in the balustrade and bottom rail, and prep and paint the railing. Because this work is restoring the porch to its original appearance and the new railing will match the 1910 historical photo, staff recommends approval as proposed. The fourth and final work item involves work to the exterior siding, trim, windows, and shutters. The existing siding is cedar shake, and the paint on it and the trim is peeling and flaking. The glazing of the window muttons and sashes is falling off and in need of replacement. Additionally, many of the wooden shutters are not structurally sound, are weak, and are deteriorated. The homeowner is proposing to replace the glazing, install new glass where broken panes presently exist, and repair and replace the shutters as necessary to match the existing. The new and existing wood will then be prepped and painted, the siding, shutters, and trim, and the window sashes and rear entry door on the addition are factory finished and do not require repainting. Overall, this work is consistent with the National Park Service requirements on painting wooden features, and staff recommends approval as proposed. As a note, this project has also been reviewed and approved by the Lutherville Advisory Committee. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing National Park Service Technical Preservation Services Preservation Brief 45, preserving historic wood porches, National Preservation Services Preservation Tech Brief number 10, exterior paint problems on historic wood, Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, porches and steps, pages 2, 4, and 6, windows and doors, pages 6 and 8, and the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, Standard 6, and finally, County Code Section 11-2201.
Thank you, Taylor. Is there anybody present who would like to speak? The owner or possibly the owner's rep?
Yes, the property owner, Mr. Stuart Renaud, is online.
Yes, I don't have a microphone or a camera, but can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the consideration. Taylor put it, painted the whole picture. I think the shutters are in real bad shape. Hopefully, hoping to save them. That's one reason I'm kind of trying to push through the painting project. But the windows are in pretty rough shape too, the mullions. So I'm hoping to be able to really get into those, the windows and the shutters, get them fixed. And the porches, and the porch is only 10 years old, the deck, but it has deteriorated quickly. So we have to do it again, unfortunately.
Well, thank you very much for your input. Thank you for working on the structure. Is there a discussion amongst the commissioners?
Mitch, this is Rob. Yeah, I would suggest that Southern Yellow Pine in exposed surfaces, I guess pressure treated Southern Yellow Pine would be the framing under the porch, but the steps are called out as Southern Yellow Pine, and they won't last. You're using Sepale, which I believe is a rainforest hardwood of some sort. As tongue and groove on the deck, that will last. I have Ipe on my front porch, and it's held up beautifully. After painting tongue and groove pine for many years, pine or fir for many years. So I would suggest the stairs, maybe the treads be the same material.
Be the which material? The supple?
Yes, I believe that's above a quality level above Southern Yellow Pine or fir.
Yeah, so my builder recommended that for the deck for sure, and I know he was planning on treating and painting all the other Southern Yellow Pine wood on painting on 6 sides. treating it and painting it on 6 sides. So I guess
That's good. That helps. Yep.
You don't think that that would be okay?
Well, the steps are out in the weather, so if the treads were perhaps the same material as the porch deck, the rest could be the pine, but they would last longer with shoveling and chipping, and so encouraging degradation, I guess, is they need to be maybe a little more durable. That's all I would suggest.
And so, well, can I discuss it with him then, or what? I don't know.
Let me make a motion that we accept it without conditions, but encourage you to pay attention to the recommendations and have those discussed with your builder.
Okay.
Rob, are you okay with that, Rob?
Yeah, I second that motion. Yes.
And just for clarity, so the commission is okay with either material so long as it's still wood. I want to make sure that we have all the information necessary and don't have to bring it back before you when we receive a permit.
Yes.
Perfect.
Before we do a roll call, was there any other comments from commission members?
That's the most fantastic balustrade I've ever seen. Thank you for preserving it.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm going to be working on it if it's approved. I'm going to jump on that.
Yeah. The Spanish cedar is a nice touch.
Yeah, before I think it was shingled. It was just shingled over. So it's going to be some work to fix it up, but it'll be very nice. We hope.
Thank you. So we have a second. Taylor, you want to conduct a roll call?
Yes. Chris?
Yes.
Ed? Ed? I think you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Faith?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Mitch?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Vince?
Yes.
Perfect. That passes.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. Alrighty. The last item up for discussion is agenda item number 8, the Cervino property at 4716 Butler Road in Glendon. This is a non-contributing structure in the Glendon County Historic District, and the proposal is the in-kind replacement of a deteriorated chain link fence and the installation of a 3-board split rail fence to enclose the rear yard. The homeowner is seeking approval to enclose the rear yard of her home to allow her dogs free access. The property is 2.18 acres and features both runs of chain link and 3-board split rail fencing. The chain link fencing was installed prior to the current owners and prior to the foundation of the Glendon County Historic District. It is deteriorated, falling down, and torn in spots. The 3-board split rail fence was installed approximately 20 years ago. Some runs have been removed over the years, and what still exists is caving in and buckling. Photos of the existing chain link and 3-board split rail fences were provided by the homeowner and are included in the meeting materials. For the majority of the proposal, the homeowner would like to replace the existing fences in kind, the existing chain link with new chain link, and the existing 3-board split rail with new 3-board split rail, and then install 3-board split rail in the areas that no fencing presently exists. Additionally, the homeowner would like to replace an existing 75-foot chain link fence run in the front yards between 4716 and 4708 Butler Road with a 3-board split rail fence. This component of the proposal is on behalf of both the property owners at 4716 and 4708 Butler Roads, and the owners will be splitting the costs. The homeowner has noted on the historic review application that the ideal would be to replace all of the chain link fence with 3-board split rail. However, it is not an option financially at this time. While our design guidelines state that chain link fencing is not appropriate in historic district and historic districts and that fences should be located at or behind the front facade line. Both the chain link fencing and the fence in the front yard predate the district. Because of this, the homeowner is not required to replace and or remove them. Staff feels that the replacement of the chain link fence in the front yard with the 3-board split rail fence is an improvement and appreciates the homeowner's proposal of 3-board split rail where possible. Staff recommends approval for the project as proposed. Should the homeowner wish to replace the remaining chain link fence with 3-board split rail in the future, staff would be supportive of the proposal. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a notice to proceed for the in-kind replacement of the deteriorated chain link fence as proposed, and vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of the 3-board split rail fence as proposed, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscapes, pages 3 and 4, and County Code Section 327-403.
Thank you, Taylor. Is the owner present with us tonight?
Yes, Miss Servino is online, and we'll have Caitlin unmute her.
Yes,
there we go.
I'm here. Hi. Hello.
Hi
How
there.
are you?
Good. How are you?
What would you like to offer the commission?
You know, I think Taylor did a very nice job presenting it. It's you know, again, I'd like the whole yard to be split rail, but at this time it's just not feasible. It's 2.5 acres. So, you know, what I'd like to do is first replace the split rail and upgrade it to, you know, split rail. And then as the chain link deteriorates, you know, replace it over time, but not at this time.
So
thank you.
I have a question then. Are you so where it's blue is where you're putting the split rail in. Where it's
Correct.
black is the chain link that's remaining that you're leaving in place. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. I mean, are there some little tiny bits like the little piece on the looking at the upper left-hand picture where the site plan that shows the house, a blue section of fence going towards the street. There's a little section of chain link, and then I think while you're doing it, you should just, you know, do that part from the street to the new split rail and make all of that split rail. I mean, to have 8 feet of chain link just seems, while you're there, you might as well do that.
Okay.
I think that it's not,
Yeah.
you know, you're not adding a huge amount of cost, and you might as well get one part finished so it looks decent rather than split rail, chain link, split rail, chain
Right.
link.
No. Right. I understand.
It's going to look strange, and
Mhm.
it may cost you a few cents more, but not much. I mean,
Okay. Yeah. Originally, the chain link went from the house to that the front of the house over to that east side of the chain link, and that's why that small part is
Yeah.
still there. But no,
you
I
ought to just to
understand what
leave a
you're
little
saying.
bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Any further discussion from anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
In just looking at the pictures and whatnot, it is the case that really only the front of the house is observable from any sort of public right of way, correct? Everything else is people's side yards, backyards.
Correct.
Correct.
Since it's 2 acres, I don't know what the property zoning is, but since it's what, did you say it was 2 acres?
A little over. It's about 2.5 actually.
So the houses are further apart from each other, your neighbors.
Yeah.
I would imagine that some more fencing could be seen from the street right away. You know, than houses that are really close together. You may see along the street. You may see some of the. You're not going to see the rear, but you're going to see some side too.
Well, you will, especially on the east side, you will see fencing. That's, yeah, I mean, you will, that's not unusual in the neighborhood, but you will, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in agreeing with Ed's point on, you know, instead of doing, you know, some patching, with small areas of fence, keep it consistent.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
Ed, would you like to make the motion?
Ed, I think you're muted.
I make a motion that we vote to issue a notice to proceed for the in-kind replacement of the deteriorated chain link fence as proposed, with the one exception of adding a little bit of the split rail, of the 3-board rail fence, in that one small section between this on the street run up to the perpendicular one that's also the split rail or the rail fence. And to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a 3-board split rail fence as proposed.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. This is Rob.
Thank you, Rob. We have a second. Taylor, would you like to conduct a roll call?
Yes. Chris? Oh, Chris, you're muted.
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
John? Oh, you're
Yes.
there. Thank you. Marina?
Yes.
Mitch?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Vince?
Yes.
Okay. And that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So that was everything that we had to discuss and vote on tonight. We just had a couple updates from staff. The first is that there was a council hearing for the Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church on Monday, March 1st before council. And Councilman Catch's office has already indicated that they will be moving forward with legislation to add the site to the final landmarks list. So we will keep you posted and let you know when that's officially added to the final list. We also wanted to give some updates on some code enforcement. First, the Scott Settlement properties, there were some concerns raised at the technical committee site visit that some of the other Scott Settlement houses were deteriorated and bordering on demolition by neglect. So correction notices were issued with both of those properties. One of the property owners has already contacted us and we're waiting to hear from the other one. So we're hoping to get applications before you all on those as quickly as possible. Another code enforcement update is 5 Watt Avenue, which we saw last month with the fence, and Rob raised the concern that the gazebo rails had been replaced and it looked like there was a new deck, and neither of those proposals had come before you guys. Staff did some digging based on the real estate listing photos of the property, and we realized that the property was flipped last year. So it was sold in June of 2020, work was done, and then it was resold in October. And they did extensive exterior alterations, including the gazebo rail replacement, construction of a 2-story deck, demo of a pool, installation of new windows, removal of shutters, removal and replacement of all doors, installation of new siding, the filling in of a door and window at the driveway, and the resurfacing of the driveway. There's also interior work, including plumbing, electrical, and HVAC based on photos. No permits were pulled for any of the work items, and a correction notice has been issued, both directing the former property owner to seek approval from you all, as well as rectify all outstanding permits. So staff has been in contact with the previous owner that did the flip, and he's in the process of getting an application to you all. So we just really wanted to say thanks, Rob, for pointing that out and prompting a more in-depth review on this. There was never a complaint filed by a neighbor, so we were never flagged on this. So we are trying to get it taken care of now, and hopefully we'll have an application before you guys in the coming months for that.
Thank you. I think Rob was questioning the gazebo as possible zoning violations, I think.
Yeah, and the gazebo we did found was pre-existing. It's been there as far back as we could tell, so If it's a zoning case, that's totally separate. But they did change out the rails and a lot of other work. So
Thank you.
that is all I have. Anything anyone wants to mention or discuss? If not,
Anybody?
we will take a
Anybody?
motion.
Hey, Taylor, when do we get our vaccines?
I have mine.
Don't we get vaccines as members of the commission?
That's good. I'm gonna defer to Jen Nugent on that one.
Unfortunately, that's a no. Sorry.
Jen, I was going to send you an email tomorrow asking you.
I had other commission members on other boards ask, so the answer is no. But by May 1st, all adults should be able to get one, apparently.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Alrighty,
Hopefully
anything
soon.
else? Alrighty, then I will
Who's
take a
gonna-
motion to adjourn.
Who's going to make the motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn. This is Faith.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No roll call.
No roll call for that one. Alrighty, you guys are all set. Thank you for taking the time to attend, and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one.